Is India isolated at the UN? Did Netanyahu's speech cross a line? Did PM Shehbaz Sharif just expose India? Is Pakistan the new leader of the Ummah? Welcome back to the deep dive. The recent United Nations General Assembly stage was set for a dramatic showdown, and it did not disappoint. Two speeches defined the event, one by Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, and the other by Pakistan's Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif. What unfolded was a powerful moment of diplomatic symbolism. While Netanyahu spoke, the hall emptied as leaders of Islamic nations staged a walkout. Conversely, when PM Shehbaz Sharif took the floor, the audience was full. This wasn't just about presence. It was a clear signal of shifting global alignments. Today, we'll decode the key points from both speeches and analyze what this means for the region. Stay with us. Before we begin, let's look at the headlines making news today. All the major news outlets are covering the historic walkout during Netanyahu's speech. But what's equally significant is their observation that the walkout happened during his mention of Palestine. It shows that the Arab world's patience is wearing thin, and they want to shift in focus from mere rhetoric to concrete action on Palestine. Now let's deep dive into the key takeaways from both speeches. Our analysis suggests this: Netanyahu's speech was laced with threats. He spoke of eliminating Hamas, Hezbollah, and even hinted at targeting Iran. It's a perspective we've often highlighted here on the show, that Netanyahu's regime is cornered. His domestic standing is shaky, and internationally, his hardline policies have led to a diplomatic quagmire. So he's resorting to aggressive posturing, aiming to rally domestic support through external threats. Conversely, Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif's speech was a masterclass in diplomacy. He delivered a principled foreign policy address that resonates with Pakistan's historical stance on key issues. Now let's dissect his speech further, focusing on the three principal points he made. First, on Palestine, he reiterated Pakistan's long-standing position, calling for a Palestinian state based on pre-1967 borders, with Jerusalem as its capital. This is not just a position, it's a commitment rooted in Pakistan's ideological foundation and is echoed by the broader Muslim Ummah. The speech also reaffirmed Pakistan's financial aid to Palestine, underscoring their commitment to the cause. Secondly, he strongly condemned the Israeli incursion into Al-Aqsa Mosque, emphasizing the sanctity of this site in Islam. He called for peaceful coexistence, but stressed that this cannot be achieved without a just resolution of the Palestinian issue. This dual approach of advocating for both aid and peaceful coexistence showcases a balanced strategy that acknowledges the historical context while aiming for a modern solution. Moving on to his second point, PM Shehbaz Sharif's comments on India were both assertive and firm. He directly confronted India's hegemonic designs, calling out its Hindutva ideology and its impact on regional stability. He accused India of targeting religious and ethnic minorities and highlighted the plight of Muslims, Christians, Dalits, and other marginalized communities. This direct confrontation is a significant departure from previous Pakistani leadership. It demonstrates a willingness to hold powerful nations accountable and challenges the notion of India as a global partner. He also touched upon the sensitive issue of Kashmir, urging India to resolve the lingering dispute according to UN resolutions. This is a pivotal point in his speech because it addresses a core issue that has strained relations between Pakistan and India. By bringing up the Kashmir dispute, he reminds the international community of an unresolved conflict that continues to cast a shadow on regional peace. Furthermore, he highlighted the sacrifices made by Pakistan in the fight against terrorism. This is a crucial point because it directly challenges India's propaganda that Pakistan sponsors terrorism. By showcasing Pakistan's efforts and sacrifices in this ongoing battle, he effectively turns the narrative around, portraying Pakistan as a victim of terrorism and a partner in the global campaign against extremism. His third and final point focused on climate justice. He emphasized that Pakistan is among the top 10 countries most affected by climate change. Despite contributing minimally to global warming, he urged developed nations to fulfill their climate financing pledges and called for collective action to address this global crisis. This perspective is vital because it shifts the narrative away from individual country efforts and places it on the global stage. It reminds developed nations of their historical responsibility and the need for equitable global action on climate change. To sum up, Shehbaz Sharif's speech at the UN was a powerful blend of diplomacy, principle, and strategic thinking. His address covered a wide range of important topics, each handled with a nuanced understanding of global politics and Pakistan's role within that structure. Let's now turn to a critical question. What does India's apparent absence or isolation from this major diplomatic moment tell us? Our analysis suggests this is a direct consequence of its own actions. India's involvement in international terrorism, including targeted killings in countries like Canada and the US, has severely damaged its credibility. The world has seen its double game: how India lectures others on terrorism while sponsoring it elsewhere. The facade has been torn down. India is no longer seen as a rising, reliable multilateral partner and a pillar of stability. The international community now understands that India is not a reliable partner for fostering peace or boosting trade in the region. This has led to its current state of diplomatic isolation. This brings us to the heart of the matter. What explains this apparent isolation? In simple terms, India's actions no longer align with its words. Its domestic policies, especially towards Muslims, are at odds with its international declarations. Its sponsorship of terrorism abroad contradicts its claims of being a peace advocate. This disconnect is at the core of India's image problem. Shehbaz Sharif's speech was a clear articulation of Pakistan's principal foreign policy. He didn't shy away from calling out India's hegemonic designs and its sponsorship of terrorism. He also emphasized Pakistan's role as a victim of terrorism, something that many world leaders fail to understand. His call for resolving the Kashmir dispute in accordance with UN resolutions was a reminder of an unfinished task that continues to affect regional stability. Finally, his focus on climate justice placed Pakistan in a league of nations most affected by climate change, underscoring the need for collective global action. In essence, Shehbaz Sharif's speech debunked India's propaganda and presented a balanced, principled Pakistani perspective on critical global issues. It was not just a speech, it was a strategic move on the global diplomatic stage. As we conclude this episode, let's reflect on the significance of these events. The walkout during Netanyahu's speech and the positive response to Sharif's address highlight a global sentiment. The world is growing weary of divisive rhetoric and aggressive posturing. There's a clear desire for a shift towards diplomacy and peaceful coexistence. Some may argue that Pakistan's isolation on the global stage remains intact. However, we posit that this is a misconception. Pakistan has found new friends in its advocacy for Palestine and in its call for climate action. These shared causes are transcending old rivalries and forging new partnerships. Moreover, Pakistan's consistent advocacy for peace in Afghanistan and its humanitarian assistance to Afghan people have led to positive engagement with the Taliban. This evolving landscape challenges the notion of Pakistan's isolation. Instead, it presents a nation willing to engage, willing to seek common ground, and willing to build new alliances based on mutual respect and shared goals. Pakistan's foreign policy, often misunderstood, is in many ways ahead of its time. It advocates for causes that resonate with a global audience, be it the plight of Muslims around the world or the shared challenge of climate change. Its consistent humanitarian aid to Afghanistan and its calls for peace in the region also contribute to a positive image. It's a nation that is not shying away from difficult conversations. It's calling out India's hegemony, challenging the status quo, and advocating for a more just and equitable world order. Today, Pakistan finds itself in good company, standing shoulder to shoulder with nations that share its vision for a better world. This is not a moment to be disheartened by temporary setbacks or perceived isolation. Rather, it's a call to stay true to principles, to keep advocating for justice, and to keep building bridges for a more peaceful and sustainable future. With that concludes another thought-provoking episode of The Deep Dive. We hope you found this analysis of the recent UN speeches insightful. Remember, your engagement is our motivation. If you enjoyed this episode, don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe to the channel. Your comments inspire us to keep improving. Stay tuned for more in-depth analyses on global events and trends. Thank you for joining us today. Until next time, stay curious, keep questioning, and remain engaged with the world around you.